I will tell you that if your immune system is weak and you are low on selenium, you are more apt to get sick.
That's some pure truth coming from Dr. Alan Mandell, who is a chiropractic expert. For those who don't know, selenium is a micronutrient that can have a significant impact on cancer. Many cancer patients have been observed to have lower levels of selenium. Dr. Alan Mandell will tell us about 10 foods we can eat to boost selenium levels in our bodies. But before that, I once saw Dr. Mark Hyman discussing cancer too. So, let's slide by and hear his point of view about cancer.
And what's striking to me is that we have it all wrong when we think about cancer. We are great at treating it by cutting it and burning it and poisoning it. That's drugs, radiation, and surgery. But there's a whole other way of thinking about it, which is how do you actually treat the cause? How do you treat the soil, the conditions in which the cancer grew? In fact, most medicine doesn't focus on that. It doesn't focus on how do we create a healthy soil. But as a functional medicine doctor, I think of myself as a soil farmer. Regular medicine is sort of like industrial agriculture, where you're putting chemicals and all sorts of things on the plants to try to get them to not die, right? Herbicides, pesticides, chemicals. An organic farmer is a soil farmer, and they create a healthy soil, and then disease can't come, pests can't come, weeds can't come. That's what we do in functional medicine. So we have to rethink cancer. Yes, we're still going to need surgery and chemo and radiation, but we can combine that with the other side of the picture, which is a powerful new approach that doesn't necessarily make cancer a death sentence. So yes, some cancers will take our friends and our loved ones and our family.
Dr. Mark Hyman was right. We need to shift our focus from just cutting or burning cancer to treating its root cause. One thing Dr. Mark Hyman didn't explain extensively was understanding cancer and its formation process, which I believe will really help in treating the root cause of cancer. So, I got us a video of Dr. Berg, an expert in the ketogenic diet, where he simply explains the complexity of cancer formation. Well, here it goes.
The most important thing is to understand what cancer is and how it became cancer in the first place. Cancer originates from normal cells. So in other words, they're not just something like a virus that just comes from something external. It comes from within. In other words, there's something that happens in your environment that creates destruction of a part of your cell called the mitochondria. And because the mitochondria has one really important function of producing energy for your body, when that cell no longer gets the energy, it has a backup program. So cancer really is an adaptation to a different energy source because the mitochondria is no longer providing energy.
Mitochondria are not only about producing energy, as Dr. Berg says, but to him, it's the pivot point between health and disease. Let's go check it out.
But the mitochondria is not just about producing energy. It also helps you balance and metabolize iron and calcium and make hormones and make neurotransmitters and make melatonin, which is all about sleep. There's a lot of crosstalk between the mitochondria and the circadian clock in your body that run the different cycles, including the sleep cycles, and gut microbes and immune cells. So your mitochondria does a lot. The mitochondria is really the pivot point between health and disease. And when the mitochondria becomes damaged and that cell turns into a cancer cell, some interesting things occur. First of all, that cancer cell becomes immortal. So it loses any type of program to die. The cancer cell also produces inflammation, and it seems to grow and spread into areas of inflammation, including old injuries.
It's time to get back to Dr. Alan Mandell, who will teach us the foods for boosting our selenium levels.
So now I'm going to share with you the top 10 foods that are filled with selenium. These figures are based on 100 grams, which is approximately 3.5 ounce portions. Number 10, eggs, 31.6 micrograms. Number 9, beef, 36 micrograms. Number 8, turkey, 36.8 micrograms. Number 7, shrimp, 38 micrograms. And most shellfish has selenium. Number 6, salmon, 47 micrograms. Number 5, sunflower seeds, 53 micrograms. Number 4, chia seeds, 55 micrograms. Number 3, tuna fish, 65 micrograms. Number 2, whole wheat pasta, 73 micrograms. And all whole wheat products has selenium as well. And number 1, the astonishing Brazil nut, 1,917 micrograms. And just 1 ounce, which is 6 to 8 nuts, is 544 micrograms. And you will also find lots of selenium in mixed nuts as well. So imagine 1 Brazil nut, that's 175% of our recommended daily intake. We are required to take in approximately 55 micrograms of selenium a day, up to 400. But there is a problem. We are not really getting the selenium that we think we are. Our soils are being depleted. Medicine and drugs are pushing it out of our system. Stress is affecting our digestion. It's never assimilating to where it needs to go. So we need to make sure we're getting these foods to keep our immune system strong so our body can fight those viruses. So if you've noticed that your immune system is weak, you're always feeling run down, and you're always getting sick, try supplementing with more selenium.
If you are not already a subscriber of this channel, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and share this video to whom might benefit best. I'm not really tired of Dr. Berg's insights on cancer because he seems pretty based. If you're not tired either, let's watch some of the big risk factors of cancer he'll talk about.
One big risk factor for cancer is excess food and excess glucose. So by eating a lot of food and very often and sugary food, that puts you at a major risk for getting cancer. And so the opposite of that is fasting. So fasting is one of the most powerful things that you can do to prevent cancer. And I'm talking about intermittent fasting as well as periodic prolonged fasting. Okay. So you fast for, a few days or longer. Now, before I explain that, I'm just going to talk about number 2, being sedentary. Now, you wouldn't think being sedentary is a cause of damage to the mitochondria, but because of all the stress and things that actually we're exposed to, being sedentary apparently is a cause. And so therefore, exercise is number 2 most potent thing you can do to help avoid cancer. Now, both fasting and exercise do similar things. They both induce something called the anti-Warburg effect. So they directly counter the shift, okay? And they help you bring yourself back over here. There's some really interesting data talking about how both of these things right here can remodel part of your mitochondria. And when I talk about remodel, I'm talking about repairing it. And I'm talking about something called and I'm going to give you a big word now, electron chain transport. This is like a really important part of this machine whereby we're extracting these electrons from food and then forming ATP. Most of the energy currency of the body, the ATP, is made by this electron transport chain. And guess what? Fasting and exercise helps to remodel this part of this machine. Also, both fasting and exercise triggers autophagy. Autophagy is a condition that helps recycle old damaged proteins as well as damaged mitochondria. And so we want some autophagy going on to do that as well. Fasting and exercise also increase insulin sensitivity, which can also decrease the risk. And there's something even cooler. Apparently, fasting has this very special property to help the cancer cells lose their advantages. It causes the cancer cell to no longer resist death. So fasting makes the cancer cell vulnerable to being destroyed, and it strengthens our normal cells. And even if someone does chemotherapy, it makes the normal cells stronger to resist the chemicals, which is very, very cool. So these 2 things are extremely important. Let's talk about number 3, circadian misalignment. What is that? It means that there's something going wrong with your circadian waves, which mainly we're going to focus on sleep. So a good night rest, both in number of hours and quality, is going to be very, very essential to reducing your risk of cancer. But why? Because there's a huge crossover link between the circadian waves and the mitochondria, and also between sleep and the lowering of cortisol and your immune system. Realize too, when you increase cortisol, you actually shut down the immune system. Also, melatonin, the main sleep hormone, uses this system to work. Okay, it doesn't use this system. This is why people with chronic disease, including cancer, usually always have problems with their circadian clocks and their sleep cycles. And then number 4, this is interesting, loneliness, social isolation, not only will double the risk of diabetes, but it also increases the risk of cancer. Socializing with others, with groups, with individuals is just as essential as good, healthy food and water and exercise.